Uh, all right, thanks everybody for joining. Just to get started, here's the doc. I can share it. Let's see here. It's the agenda today. All right, and first off, good news is our API browser documentation is now on the website. If you go to steeltoe.io, which is great news. We've been getting some requests for this. It does show that we do need to put a little bit more. If you go to Learn and go to API browser, you need to put a little bit more documentation in our code, but I think overall this is a really nice feature. You got depending on which version you want, version 2, version 3, defaults to all namespaces, which is quite a bit, if you see here. But at least you can search across everything. You can also go into namespaces and break it down into subsections based off of the components. So circuit breaker, configuration, connectors, all the above here. So nice new feature on our site. Look forward to getting some feedback on that and see if anybody wants to. I know we need to obviously add, like I said, add some more work around our documentation in some areas. But some of it's probably better than others. And what else was there? Was there something else we added on? I think wait, what else was there? Do we have any new blogs? I think there was a new blog. I mean, it's not updated yet. There is a new blog out there though. We'll go back to the notes section. Oops. Where is my notes? Hold on, there it is. Okay. And actually, we jump into the next thing, which is our reference application. Tim's been working pretty hard on this. I think did you finish everything up, Tim? What are we looking at right now?
The Kubernetes deployment is still a work in progress. I found a couple issues with the way some of the things ran in Kubernetes. So I had some PRs for the framework that I think the important one got merged this morning. So I should be wrapping that up very soon.
Very good. All right. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's the local deployment, the Azure Spring Cloud deployment, and the Tanzu application service deployment functionality. That's kind of some scripts out there that kind of handle all that for us, which is nice. And then we have some new initializer updates for our Steeltoe initializer. Chris, you want to give a quick update? I mean, you kind of listed everything here, but if you want to just give a quick run through.
So we had Net 5 support before, but it wasn't really set up properly. We're still pulling in ASP Net Core 3.1 libraries, so that's been fixed. We also updated the generated projects to use floating library versions. So whereas before we might have pulled in a dependency for say 1.2.3, now it's 1.2.*, just to help keep things a little more current. We explicitly removed support for Steeltoe 2.4. So before, if you would use the API, you could still pass in a 2.4 version and get a project, but we kind of removed that. So now the minimum requirement is 2.5. Made some tweaks to how projects are generated. Just selected the actuator dependency. What was happening before was that you would get a project that had both actuator and Cloud Foundry in there. So now if you select only actuator, you'll get just a plain actuator app. And if you add Cloud Foundry, it'll be as it was before if you had selected just actuator. Then some various UI bugs that we had that were incorrect error messages, that kind of thing.
Very good. I'll take a quick look. I guess maybe go over the, oops, what is going on now? That's not a good sign.
That's never good. Try,
there we go, we got it. Sorry, it's my machine. Yeah, so the new dependencies are, so we have actuators, and then so if you add actuators and Cloud Foundry, then it will add the...
Correct. So if you just looked at the source, now generated source with just actuators, you won't see any reference to Cloud Foundry in the generator project.
Okay. Right. And that was here or the startup.
You could probably see it more clearly in CS. Well, you can see it there, yeah.
Okay. And then also the now if you add Cloud Foundry, then it adds the Cloud Foundry component.
It'll be a little different. The code looks a little bit different. It's a different way the actuator gets wired.
Okay. Obviously, yeah. Few things
So
here.
we also renamed, at least just for the descriptive name for the Hystrix or for circuit breaker. If you look at the dependency drop-down list, it'll say Netflix Hystrix
Okay.
breaker. The actual underlying dependency name, if you were to say to use a curl API, hasn't changed. That's so we're staying in sync with the Spring project. At least descriptively, it calls it out. That's what we're really talking about here is Netflix hits for Hystrix.
Very
So
good.
you add dependency JSON, you can see the circuit breaker.
All right. Thanks, Chris. All right, and then typical, open issues. Our good first issues, still some new ones out there. If anybody wants to take a look. Let's see what else in our help wanted issues, very similar out there. And then upcoming, so still working on our 3.1 release, making some good headway on the streams functionality and data flow. But there's still some work to be done, mostly working on sort of certifying the code with our tests and creating some samples, getting ready for that release. And then we got to work on documentation too, is something else that needs to come along. So our 2.5.3, that's kind of just in progress, not a lot in there right now. So we're more focused on the 3.1 release. Our 3.03, we're likely going to be skipping unless something urgent comes up, but trying to roll everything into a 3.1.0 instead of focusing on a 3.03 at this time. And what else we got going here? We already know about the recent releases. They've been out for a while now. And here's the blog I was talking about. David put together a new reference application blog around .NET and Azure Spring Cloud. So take a look at that. It's on Tech Community at Microsoft blog there. So please take a look. They did a nice job on that one. And oops, what we're at here. Steeltoe. Okay. Now on to community discussions. Anything specific we want to discuss, talk about? I know, hey, Christopher, I know you submitted a couple more PRs. Is there anything from the team around those PRs that Christopher Kimball's submitted? Anybody looked at it yet? Or I know we're kind of in the middle of some things, so I understand if we haven't got there yet.
I glanced at that PR. I don't have anything immediately objectionable or anything. I kicked off a build. Christopher already fixed something that came up with the first run. And then I had that weird Azure DevOps issue where it decided it didn't want to pull source. So I'll be looking at it hopefully today. The only thing that jumped out at me was it looks like there's some new public interfaces, which should possibly go into an abstractions library instead of wherever they are right now. But we can deal with that on the pull request.
Okay.
What is what functionality does the pull request offer, or features, or whatever?
It's a bit of refactoring work. So it's kind of management has been built, over time, and it's got a bunch of stuff that predates some nice features that Microsoft shipped in libraries. So it doesn't use options like it should. It's just got a bunch of stuff that seems complicated. So it's kind of an effort to streamline it, reduce the public surface area, give us more flexibility with maintenance going forward.
All right. Anything else from the community or the rest of the team want to discuss? Any topics?
Have you guys seen any or heard anything, good topics for blogs? Have any ideas there?
I mean, obviously, stream stuff's going to come up pretty soon. I don't know the best way to get started on that, but obviously, it's getting pretty close. So it might be worth reaching out to the team around, or at least David and Hananiel around that work.
Okay.
I think that would be, I really want to, see that being promoted pretty well, because it's an awesome feature and we spent a lot of time on it. So it would be good to have some kind of a nice blog write up on that one.
Spring Cloud data flow piece with it. Okay.
It might also be interesting to do something with the client certificate auth and the Steeltoe library specifically for doing service-to-service MTLS in a Cloud Foundry environment. Andrew put a lot of work in on that, the initial implementation, and it sounds like he might have a customer that's going to be coming back around to a project that got shelved a year ago. So he might be an interesting resource to put some content together around that.
It sounds like an exciting topic, MTLS.
Well, I mean, the way that it works is really cool. You deploy the apps and they can talk to each other like with security automatically.
And it's using certificates provided by Cloud Foundry?
Yep. So the apps just load the certificate off of disk and know how to recognize each other.
Is there possibly a story for having some other certificate authority and not Cloud Foundry?
I don't think that those libraries necessarily care about the authority at all. It's just loading the certificate off of disk and being able to recognize one that's similar.
Right. Okay. I just happen to be doing a little bit of learning about certificate authorities in Kubernetes and clusters. So I'm wondering if we don't have to have the functionality, but at least talk about, using something from a native thing out of Kubernetes as the authority.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's certificates on disk that have some form of platform-specific metadata, we could possibly adapt the libraries to do something similar in Kubernetes as well.
Cool.
All right. Okay. Anything else? Any other blog or other opportunities there? David, have you been still working on those videos at all? Or are you still, I know you had that whole setup in your room. Are you still working on like those videos you're putting together?
No, I lost steam. And now moving on to some other things within VMware. No, unfortunately, I've just totally lost steam on that.
Okay. Well, at least you got one out.
Well, I did 2 or 3.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
I liked
it.
Yeah, they were pretty cool. That you had them the way you set it up and everything.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, I guess at this time must be a pretty short meeting today. There's no other topics. We can go ahead and jump off. I guess, like I said, the focus is 3.1, getting that out the door. Obviously making some headway or Ken's been making some headway on the website. Obviously he did the API browser work, and we also looking at updating the getting started guides, getting them out there. So that's trying to keep that community happy with our getting started guides and keeping them updated. So that's something new. David, I know you put a lot of work in that too, switching over to Markdown, which is good. Thank you. But yeah, it looks pretty good. And I think that's one of the next features. Also, our mobile app site doesn't need some help on the docs. So Ken's also looking into that, which is great, because it's just we lose one of the menus, and it's a pretty important menu. So, but overall, it's getting there. We're going to have a nice complete website pretty soon here. So hopefully fill the gaps in that we have right now. Anybody else? Anything else? No? Chris Kimball, Chris Cheatham, Ken, anything? All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. It was a quicker one than usual, but that's all good. We'll have another one next month, and please feel free to open any issues or topics on the Steeltoe Steeltoe OSS on GitHub. Thanks, everybody.
Cool.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir.
See you.